last week we had the popular Steve Harris on the show, where he talked about how to actually be productive in an unproductive environment. And those that were on the show last week would testify that it was indeed a fantastic one. Okay, I don't want to waste a lot of your time today, but last week I wore the red. Today I'm wearing the black. You can see this t-shirt, Masterclass with Tope Bandele. I think it's very, very beautiful. So you may also win yourself a t-shirt today. We never can tell. Let's see how the program goes. I feel like giving out shirts today. All right. Thank you very much. Once again, I welcome you all to this fantastic program today, and I look forward not just to host the program, but also to learn, because I'm also a career person and I want to learn. I want to learn as well. All right. Okay, I got someone says I'm no longer the host. I don't know why this is so, but I'm gonna see what I can do to correct that. All right, so now let me introduce my guest to you on the show today. My guest is Tominiyi Oni, and I'm going to share my screen just now to really put up the introduction of Tomi. Just a second, please. All right. I hope you can see my screen. All right, if you can see my screen, please just I cannot hear you, so I need you to say something in the comment box to be sure that you can see my screen. All right, I'm waiting for that. And if you cannot, please tell me you cannot see my screen, because we need to manage this technology a little bit differently. All right. Okay, fantastic. I'm happy that you can see my screen. So Tominiyi Oni is a versatile HR professional. A lot of you must have heard about him. A lot of you must have seen him. A lot of you must have even worked with him. So Tomi is a member chief learning officer, Business Intelligence Board. He's a board member to the Institute of Mentoring as well. He's a member Human Capital Institute, HCR. Tomi is a member Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM. He's the initiator of Port Harcourt HR Roundtable. He has an honorary doctorate degree at Sydney University. He's very passionate. He's a coach. He's a mentor. For your information, Tomi is my mentor. So I'm glad to bring my mentor on the show today. And I think it tells a lot about our relationship as well. If I had not been a good mentee, probably Tomi would not be on the show today. All right, so Tomi has a lot of hobbies and he has a lot of passion. He's a farmer, and I'm proud to say Tomi is a farmer. I also want to be a farmer like him one day. He has got dogs. He's very passionate about dogs. He's married and he has 3 children. All right, that is Tominiyi Oni, but let me take you a bit into his career journey. As you can see, Tomi has worked in almost every other company you can ever imagine, you can ever think about. And so he's bringing a lot of, a huge knowledge, a huge well of knowledge and experience to us tonight. And you can ask all the questions you want to ask. So I'll keep TPI a little bit apart. So I will start from 1992. Tomi was with West African Portland Cement. Then he moved to PwC. He was at Air Liquide. Then he went into British Council between 2001 and 2002. Then Tomi moved into Diageo 2002 to 2005. Then he went to PwC, and then he became a very key HR professional and director in Shell in 2006. Tomi moved to SEC Nigeria in 2010. Then I met Tomi in Friesland Campina as the HR director of Friesland Campina. So he was there between the years 2013 to 2019. And in 2019, he joined TGI, Tropical Growth Industries. That is Tominiyi Oni for you. And ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, and I'm going to invite Tomi now to the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, Tominiyi Oni, you're welcome. Just say something. I'm going to come up again.
Hey, thank you very much.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. You're still going to come to officially, but before we go, let me just tell us a bit about how tonight's show will go. So tonight's show is going to be a mute class. What do I mean by a mute class? Meaning your comments, your questions, your contributions, you need to put them in the chat box. All right. And when you put them in the chat box, I will see those comments. And then I ask Tony, why do we do this? We actually want to avoid a lot of interference. People are calling from different places. And I really do not want to have that kind of interference or network issues. So please oblige me to do justice to your questions today. Thank you very much. And we want to know the audience that we have today. So what are we going to do? You're going to go back again into that chat box. For those of you calling from your phone, you can see it is just below your screen there. You'll see chat. I need you to just put your name and where you're calling from. If you want to tell us what you do, okay, it's fine as well. We just want to have a bit of idea of the kind of audience that we have in today's show, and that will also help guide guide our discussion. So please go into the chat box and just put it there and just say, I am Tope calling from Lagos, or I am Emma calling from Abidjan. I am Yemi calling from the US. I mean, joining from the US. It's just for us to have an idea of the group that we have here today. All right. So I'll give you about a minute. Let's quickly do that. Oh, thank you very much, Promise from Lagos, an engineer. Thank you very much. Let's keep that coming. Okay, Adebinkwe, I would love to know where you're joining us from, though. But it's fine. Yes, from Lagos. Thank you very much. Oyelere, thank you from Lagos. Eman from Abidjan. Oyelere from Ibadan, sorry. Pinkwe fashion designer, thank you very much. Blessing from Lagos. Benjamin Babatunde from Lagos as well. All right, guys, please keep this coming. It's good for us because we would like to have an idea. We want to know you also, even if I cannot see you. I also still want to know you. I see a lot of people on the screen, and I may not be able to mention all the names. Franklin, finance manager from Lagos. Thank you very much, Franklin. Wow. All right. So I think it's time that we start the show almost immediately. All right. And then I'm going to invite Tommy to, if I've not introduced you well enough, just say a little bit about yourself and what we should expect from the show today. Then we'll go straight into the topic. Tommy, over to you.
All right, Titi, thank you very much for having me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be on this show with Titi and all of you. Titi has done justice to the introduction, so nothing to add. But one thing that I always mention when I introduce myself is my purpose. So my purpose is to nurture talents and grow leaders. And that's what drives me in whatever I do, wherever I go. So it's nurture talents, grow leaders. I hope that's okay, Titi. Well, I mean, part of the introduction, I'm married. I've got 3 grown-up children. My wife is a healthcare professional, and we're married for 23 years now. So it's been a long journey. I learned much more from her, and I work in emergency nursing than I do actually in my own career, because I extrapolate all the learning that I get from her. Titi, is
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Tommy. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. And Tommy is doing this pro bono. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And also, let me say this also. This show, it's free, all right? We just want to add value to people. So please, if you ever get any request to pay to attend MCTV, kindly decline. That is not what we're going to do. If we want to make money, we will actually look for another way of making money. But this particular program, the Masterclass with Tope Bandele, is free and will always be free. All right. Someone asked me, how do you have time to do this? I tell you guys, it is just about my passion and dedication. I am a very busy guy, and a lot of you know that, but I still have to find time to do this. And I appreciate you that you're here as well, because I know you are also very busy. But spending about an hour with me today It's really something I cherish and I appreciate so much. All right, so we go straight into the topic of today, the secrets of five-star employees. So tell me, what exactly do we mean, or what exactly is when you say an employee is a five-star rated? What does that mean? You need to unmute yourself. We cannot hear you.
So Titi, am I audible now? All right. So
Yeah.
I was telling Titi that I'm not a student of theories and quoting and unquoting, but I do familiarize myself with a lot of quotes from very intelligent and wise leaders around the world.
Hello, ma.
Um, so I'd like to start with a quote from the Chinese general, war general. His name is Sun Tzu. He's well quoted, all over the world. So I just like to start by quoting him. And then a couple of the things I'll be talking about today, I will always go back to his quote. So according to Sun Tzu, three things. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, let me start from the first one. So if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 1,000 battles. Don't worry, he talks about war and war strategy, but again, it's applicable to life. If you know your enemy and not yourself, for every victory you gain, you will also suffer defeat. And the third one, if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you'll succumb in every battle. So let me rearrange it from the last one. And this is about, being a five-star employee or being a five-star professional. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you'll succumb in every battle. Meaning, if you don't have any awareness or knowledge about your strengths and areas of weaknesses or areas of development, you will not go far. Any little thing that happens will make you to trip and fall. Second, if you know your enemy but not yourself, for every victory you gain, you will also suffer defeat. What does that mean? It says that in case you know your weaknesses, your area of development, but you don't know your strengths to leverage on and become better, then you will make some headway, but you will also suffer some, pushbacks. And then it says, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 1,000 battles. Meaning, if you know your strengths, you know yourself, you are aware, you also know your areas of development, and you know people you should go to or what to do to develop those areas, then you are destined to become a five-star employee. That's the way I will interpret it, in alignment with this topic. So basically, I'm saying I need to know my purpose, my strengths, my area of development. I need to continue to ensure that my strengths become better and that my strengths don't become weaknesses. I also need to ensure that my areas of development are improved. Although sometimes, when you use the law of positivity, you look at, and you say your strengths, you can develop yourself, and there are some areas of weaknesses that you are not able to really work on so much. And in that case, you need to find out how best to work on them, or how best to manage those areas of development. So for example, for one, I knew like 20 years ago, based on feedback and based on what I like to do, that I have a weakness, a certain gap when it comes to, just focusing on details. So I'm a big picture person. I'm a total picture person. So as you're showing me a big picture, I can see the whole of the forest and the sky above the forest. But sometimes I miss the details. So crossing the T's, dotting the I's. Now, how have I been able to work on all of those things? In the past, it used to be a major area. I got feedback from my leaders that I needed to work on that. Then I realized that every time I try to work on details, I get bored.
Okay.
I'm just wired to think of the next idea. So what do? I try to look for people around me in my team whose strengths are focused on details. And I make sure that the project, the work goes through them because I know they have a strength that I don't have.
Can I pick you up on that, Tommy, before you go
Yes,
on?
please.
Okay, so now you understand yourself. You know that you know what makes you tick. Okay, but did your manager understand you? Because if your line manager is actually a detailed person, then I tell you, he will see you as a non-performer because you're not aligning to what he sees or what he interprets as excellence, as performance. So because a lot of time, employee and employer, this is a conflict that we always see. What my manager definition of success or definition of performance or definition of excellence to my manager is not my own definition of excellence. So how did you manage this? Because I can imagine that probably you had a boss that is also a very detailed person. I know one of them. So how did you manage this to actually place yourself? I know you understand what that question. Please take it on.
Great. So at the initial stage, I started my career at the West African Portland Cement, which is today known as Lafarge. But 6 months after, I joined the firm of Coopers and Lybrand, which became PricewaterhouseCoopers. So I was lucky. I was lucky because the bosses that I had, Dr. Alo, Dr. Ngbe, Dr. Odiaka, Kayode Abe, those guys were, I think they were themselves managed by experienced leaders like Dr. Alo. So there was some kind of patience with me. Let's focus on where you don't have leaders like that. Okay. Now it's important for me to disclose to my managers, the way I work, the way I think. We need to have a rapport. We need to have one-on-one sessions or one-on-one discussions. So my manager should not be somebody I'm running away from or who's running away from me. So I will always try to, agree an agenda, a meeting. We have to sit down and discuss. And of course, I'll ask a lot of questions. Now, if you find yourself,
what you are saying is that we need to expose ourselves also to our managers.
We need to disclose.
Disclose.
We need to disclose,
okay.
And then ask them for guidance.
Okay.
So that, because again, I've seen managers who mismanage people in their team. So for example, let's say you have 10 years experience, and then there's a fresh graduate also in your team. I've seen some managers try to manage the guy with 10 years experience the way they manage the grad. And that's totally, totally wrong. You get it wrong. And that professional who has 10 years experience will just start sinking.
Wow.
Because they'll be managing him, with almost like, a face on his shoulder, like micromanaging, which can become very damaging to somebody who already has, some experience, different from somebody who is a grad who you really need to manage.
Fantastic.
So, but again, that's why we also have in some organizations you have, and it's free on the internet. You could try to do some personality assessment tests.
Okay.
That will come out, with like a mirror of yourself, which you can.
I think we're having a bit of network issues.
Share with your ideas about what people do in their teams and how people are in their teams. So that way you are able to see your preferences. How does this guy take decisions? How does this guy see the world? How does this guy solve problems? And then, because he has these preferences, what are the indications and the contraindications? So if you are in a team where somebody likes to do things like last minute because they have a preference for having their plates full, so that in that last 24 hours, 48 hours to the deadline, that's when they get their energy and they are rushing, but they do a good job. But if you have them in a team with people who like to plan well in advance, then it becomes a challenge unless you help both parties to understand their preferences and then meet each other halfway. And this, I also have an experience where my biggest ideas come towards when the program is about to start, like a day before, like 2 days before. But I have members of my team who like to plan 1 month ahead. And each time I send a mail or make a call to say, hey, this program tomorrow, I was thinking we could do X, Y, Z. It's like, oh my God, Tommy, you can't do this. I had my plans. Where am I going to fit in all this? This is your big idea, which is very good, that is disrupting my plans. So if you don't understand each other, then your manager is bound to see you as maybe a laggard, lazy, or somebody who doesn't work the way he likes to work.
So Tommy, what I pick from this now is about understanding. Okay, there must be a clear understanding. Your line manager must understand you. You also have to understand your line manager, and then we can now decide on the metrics of performance. So I'm going to ask this then. So is performance enough to be a 5-star rated?
If you want to plant, it's not just about the quality of the seed you're going to plant. Let's say you're planting cassava, you're planting maize. It is not just about the quality of that seed that you're planting. It's also about the environment. So it's the quality of the soil. It's, whether there are some disturbances around the place. So weeds, all those weeds that will grow and sometimes can muzzle the growth of the seed. It's also about, your own nurturing, of that seed. So are you wetting? Are you watering the seed? Are you ensuring that it's got the right exposure to the sun? It's got the right exposure to moisture. Are you tilling the ground? Are you clearing the ground to ensure that the seed will germinate and grow effectively? And sometimes, are you adding fertilizer, whether it's natural fertilizer, bio, or organic, or something else? So it's a whole lot of things. So this brings me to one of the things we learned at Wharton Business School, which is about, is it a leaf problem or an environment problem? So you have a tree that has probably 5,000 leaves on it, and then you have a philosopher sitting down on a sofa under the tree, just taking in the breeze and thinking, and then all of a sudden, one leaf, LEAF, falls down out of 5,000 on the tree. And then the philosopher starts thinking, hey, what's wrong with that leaf? There are probably 5,000 leaves on this tree. How come it's only this leaf that has fallen down? And then somebody can run to a conclusion and say, oh, the leaf must have a problem. However, somebody who has a wider perspective can say, is it a leaf problem or is it an environment problem? Did somebody throw something to the tree that made that leaf to fall? Is that leaf itself withered and is already detached, semi-detached from the stem? Did the breeze blow to the extent that the leaf that was the weakest fell down? Did somebody climb the tree and shook the tree and then that leaf fell down? And the answer every time will always be, it's both a leaf problem and an environment problem.
So it's a combination of both.
Correct.
So Franklin asked the question here. He says, now, at what point should we expect potential to turn to the finished product? He says, waiting perpetually can be frustrating. I love that question.
Yeah, well, when I say potential, I mean at every point in time, you have that potential. So you are an analyst. You're doing your job very well, but people can see that you have the headroom to become analytics manager. You become manager, you continue to develop yourself, you have coaches and mentors, you continue to read and acquire knowledge to do. So you become knowledgeable, you become aware, knowledgeable, skilled, and you also become master, in the things that you do. Then people see that you have headroom to become senior manager or whatever. And then you become a master, in your art. So you continue to have that potential. But of course, we are human beings. And so for some people or many people, it gets to a point where you say, okay, old age has come and this man, can't carry on. He doesn't have the strength. But that doesn't stop us from acquiring knowledge, and applying knowledge. So that's when I say potential, it means potential for the next level. So at every point that you get to, you need to always, be able to, be aware of yourself, continue to develop yourself and say, okay, am I now ready for the next level? That's what I mean by potential. Not just the potential of yesterday that you have reached your final level.
Good. Thanks, Tommy. Sorry, I'm going to take you one step back and let's talk again about behavior. And I'm going to throw a practical example. So I have I think it was about 2 years ago. Yes, 2 years ago. And I think you also, you're involved as at that time. And I had this discussion, career discussion, end of the year appraisal with someone in my team. And everything in the KPIs, in the objectives were met. All right. But when it has to do with the behavioral topic, then we had this really hot conversation. And it wasn't happy. It wasn't happy because yes, what you've asked me to do, I have done it. So why are you judging me based on my non KPI based expectations? So I want you to elaborate a bit more on that. What, how big is the impact? How big is the relevance of behavior in judging performance?
Thank you, Tope. So the first thing for me is that while setting the objectives at the beginning of the year, or whenever you set it at the beginning of a project, you need to set objectives based on both performance and behavior. That way, there will be no pushback, or quarrels or whatever about why you judging me on behavior. And those kind of behaviors that you want to set down will be the behaviors that would help the team to achieve the KPIs, the technical KPIs that is set. So for example, team working. If you have to work on a project team, with 10 people, 10 other people, yeah, it will not matter how good you are if you cannot work with them. Now, if you are a team leader, for example, then it will not matter how much you are able to achieve the objective. If you are not able to lead the team to the extent that they work, in alignment with each other and that they grow on that project. So first thing first is to make sure that we set the KPIs both for the technical areas and also for the behavior areas. Then again, the higher you go in an organization or in your career, the more behaviors become much more important, even much more important than the technical areas of your job. So if you're a team leader, how you lead your team, how you engage them one-on-one, how you grow your team, they become more important than even what you achieve, in terms of the job. So the higher you go, the more important it becomes for your behavior to be well aligned to the overall objectives of your organization and the goal of the business.
Yeah, so guys, please still keep your questions coming. But I have another one here. I think it's from, okay, I've seen a lot of questions. I'm going to take all your questions bit by bit, all right? So Esther says, as a risk thinker, before, how do you manage your boss when your boss has not disclosed his own plans or his own itinerary to you, and he wants you to prioritize his job at all times? How do you manage this?
Well, there's something called proactively managing your boss. So I get it that in some cases you may end up under a boss who has not had the training and the development and exposure to become a modern leader. So I've heard many people talk about their managers as technical experts, but they are not leaders. Now, if that happens, you will need to manage upward your boss. And the first thing that you need to do is first to learn something about your boss. What does he like? What is his preference? How does he like to work? What does he focus on? That's number one. So it's about, knowing your boss, knowing yourself. Yeah. If you may have two bosses, for example, at different times, and one likes to have summary of a 100-page report. And then wherever he likes to, go into the details, we will then go to the slide, maybe slide 25 and 27. You will then go there. You can have another boss who likes to go through all the details. Now, if you give them, if you give the one that likes details, give him a summary, of course, there's going to be issues. And if you give the one that likes summary the details, he's also going to say, hey, I don't have time for this 100 slide report. Please Give me a summary page. Give me an executive summary, 2 pages. So first is to learn about how your boss likes to work. What is his background? Where is he coming from? Where has he worked? Then secondly is to ensure that you pin that boss down. I mean, I don't mean that literally. As in, we need to have a discussion every week, every 2 weeks, every 1 month, because that familiarity will soften the ground. You know, the more you discuss, the more you engage, the more you ask questions, the more you understand the boss, and the boss will understand you. If this doesn't happen, then I can tell you it's a small recipe for a big disaster. It's just waiting to happen. Yeah. So managing your boss's itinerary,
Yeah.
managing your boss, it's all about the awareness of who the person is, who you are, and the indications, how you work together, and the contraindications of your behavior and his own behavior. I mean, what can make you guys clash, and how do you manage that upfront? I've seen situations where young people or professionals find out what the hobby of their bosses were after they've entered some, they've faced some challenges with them. They say, I don't know what to do with this guy. He doesn't like me, blah, blah, blah. Find out what the person, an MD who loved long tennis. I never knew. I didn't study him. I didn't do anything about him. The moment I got to know, I started following long tennis. So I will know the name of the current champion, if they are going to play Wimbledon, if they're going to play any tennis tournaments anywhere in the world, who the champion is, who he likes to support. I will look for their strengths and areas of development. And in our meetings, I will chip that in, or even start with that and say, did you watch yesterday's game? Did you see last night's game? And honestly speaking, and I'm talking about a very intelligent boss who became like president, of a very big company in Asia. And it just came to life. He said, did you see his forehand? That is his strength. I mean, and he was telling me how they measure the strength and the speed of the serve. He came literally alive, and it made the rest of the discussion easier for me.
I love this. I love this. So you were able to actually attract his soft spots. You were able to understand what he actually enjoyed discussing. Then that made you able to penetrate him. Then you can now discuss what you want to discuss with them. Wow,
Exactly,
that's
TT. There are
very,
some
very.
bosses also. There are some bosses also. You need to find that from them. So one of the questions you ask, I have 2 news for you. One good, one bad. Which one do you prefer? Now that would just be the first time or second time. It tells you, no, give me the good news first. Then this one. Even if there's a bad news, I must start with something good. And if a boss that says, no, 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 give me the bad one first, then you know that you can go straight to him and tell him, hey, the factory in Agbara just got burnt down. There's not going to be issues. He's going to say, oh, okay, so let's talk. So it's all about understanding people. But of course, they are human beings, and sometimes something changes. We also need to be able to understand when the mood changes. What mood is he in today, or is she in today? They are human beings. Human beings are ruled by passion, by emotion, and by
Yeah.
feelings.
So you need to understand your boss's mood. That is very, very important. Otherwise, both of you will work at parallel. Wow. Thank you so much, Tommy. I think we can just take another question from Willie. And if I have to summarize this question, said, okay, if you prefer 2 plus 2 equals to 4, and your manager wants 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. However, it is same result, but different approach. And his question is, how can you maintain your individualities, your differences, where the style of approach, the style of management, it's a bit different? Would you say the employee should actually tend towards the employer's or the manager's style? Or how can they meet in between so that this clash or these different ideologies or different personalities can actually merge into something that will be productive for the business?
Uh, Thank you, Titi. See, since the beginning of the world, the species, the species that have survived and are thriving are the adaptable. It's not the strongest, it's not the fastest. I will adapt my style to suit my audience, to suit the purpose, to suit the environment. It doesn't make me lose my individuality. So basically, I will start my thinking and my writing and my presentation from my own perspective. But in presenting it, I will adapt it to the style of the boardroom if I'm going to present to the board. I will adapt it to the style of my MD or my HR director if I'm presenting to him. It doesn't take away my individuality, and it cannot take it away. Now, it may be that my line manager likes sugarcoating. It may be that my line manager doesn't like me to call a spade a spade. And I'll give you one example. So when I worked with Diageo, Guinness as we call it in Nigeria, I was on a project with McKinsey from South Africa and Accenture from Nigeria. And I was going to present the outcome of my analysis of the HR department. I had discussed it with the head of HR at the time. He agreed with me that yes, we needed more professional. We needed to professionalize the HR department, blah, blah, blah. But in a way, he did not really look at the header, the title of that slide. So, and he had no issues. When it was time for me to present, to the board, and this included, board members from the UK, the moment I got to that slide, and it said, only 25% of people in HR department are professionals. He just took exception to it. He never agreed with it. He shut it down. And it was about, but I showed this man this slide, this report. He never had any issues until the gentleman who was the project sponsor, who was the marketing director at the time, he later became the MD for Africa, Ekunife Okoli, was talking to me 2 weeks later and said, Toby, no, don't get disappointed, blah, blah, blah. Let me also show you something. Now, this title that says only 25% of people in this place are professionals. What other title might you have put there that would, deliver the same message, but will not be as direct as it is? We looked at it and said, okay, we could say there is more room for professionalizing the HR department. He says, what about that? Isn't that saying the same thing? I said, yes. So you need to understand that your bosses don't want to be seen as bad or heading a department that is that bad. That was the issue with your boss. So since then, if I'm making a presentation, I look at the title every time, and I try to say, is there another way to write this? Which takes me to sometimes email that we write in our
email.
Yeah, somebody who annoys you, somebody who tries to, kind of disrespect you, and then you reply. We were trained to say, you know what, you have the right to get angry. Yeah, and you should get angry. However, when you write that mail, don't press that button where it's written send. Instead, leave that mail, take a walk for 5 minutes, cool down, then come back and read the mail again, and then begin to change one word after the other. You say, oh, this is too direct, this is too pungent, this is too negative. Then you look for the acronym, look for the different words that you can, and then put them there. Then read from the bottom up, and then ask yourself, am I still sending the right message? Yes. But is it personal now, or is it a discussion? Once you can say yes, then send the message. So basically, it's all about you're checking every time what you're doing, and also how you can be better in what you do. Send your message, but always distinguish between the message and the messenger, or the message and the person you are sending the message to.
That is key. That is key. Always distinguish between the message and the messenger. And I think it's also the same thing to the bosses as well. When they read also, they need to read behind the lines. So they need to also distinguish between the message and the person who is sending it. It's totally different. So thanks so much to me. Guys, I can see your questions. Please keep them coming, but please make them short so that it can be easy for me to manage. So someone also says, sometimes knowing boss in today's context can be regarded as modern day slavery sometimes. So Tommy, you talked about knowing your boss, knowing what he likes, understanding if he's a Chelsea fan, and start with Chelsea, for example. So it says it could be regarded as modern day slavery. And how can you study your boss and know and still keep it professional?
I'm not sure I understand that question,
So
but
you talked
just
about,
hang
let
on
me
a second.
rephrase it to me. You talked about if you really want to get the attention of your boss, now you've learned to start with what he likes. All right, you've learned to get to know him better even outside work. So someone says sometimes it could be termed as slavery, or maybe you're trying to suck up to your boss. Said, how can you do this and still not come out to him or to employ or to the business as if you're probably booklicking or you're probably trying to look for a favor?
Okay, I get you, but let me start with one quote. No matter how polluted water is, it will always douse fire. I repeat, no matter how polluted water is, it will always douse fire. It will put out fire.
I'll put it on the
So what does
chart.
that mean? What does that mean? Your boss is your boss, full stop. You can't choose your boss. Yeah? You can choose your team, but even in some cases, if you join a new organization or a new team, the team is already there. You can't choose your team. They're there. Maybe over time, yes, you can, bring somebody in, take somebody out based on performance and behavior. But really, your boss is your boss. So how do you ensure that in your working together, you you are both, improving? Because one thing that guides me always is that the goal of an argument should be progress, not victory. The goal of working together should be progress, not victory. If it becomes victory, then it means that it's individualized, it's personalized. I want to win more than this guy. This guy wants to win more than me. So what I'm saying is that I'm not saying suck up to your boss. No. I'm not saying become a modern day slave. No. I'm saying understand your boss. Understand yourself. It's called wisdom, really. There's no better way of saying it. It's called wisdom. Because in quarreling with the shadow, we often lose the substance. So don't quarrel with the shadow. Don't say focus on the substance. What do I need? I need to get my job done. How do I get my job done? I'm working in a team. I need to understand my team. I need to understand myself. What are the strengths and areas of development in a team? Who can I allocate this task to? I mean, who is the guy that will need to do this for me, in a record time? But of course, as time goes on, you also need to change the task so that you're not just giving the best task or the most difficult task to only one person or two. You also need to make sure that you're developing everybody. So it's not about sucking up. It's about understanding who you work with. It
Fantastic.
makes my job easier. It makes the process faster.
Good. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tommy. We can really go on this. I also love to take a few questions on this also, and it's about multitasking. So if someone asks and says, what is the successful secret of multitasking? Knowing fully well that some believe that multitasking is a myth. And you want to say something to me?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay. Yeah. So some believe that it's a myth and causes inefficiencies in the long run. So his question is, how then can I meet my boss's expectations and deadlines? The first is, do you think multitasking is a myth?
Okay, so
Do you think it's something? It's an element of productivity that we must embrace?
okay, so exactly. So I wanted to differentiate that. So multitasking is different, from I want to meet my deadline or I want to meet the expectations of my boss. Okay, so for me, multitasking is the way of life. It is how we do work in today's organization. You can't wait to do just one thing. When you are in a world where the unexpected can happen anytime. You are in a world where in November, December of 2019, you didn't plan for COVID-19. In a world where even when you started knowing about COVID-19, you didn't plan for lockdown. And in a world where when you were even in lockdown, you didn't plan for riots, you didn't plan for protests, you didn't plan for working at home, you didn't plan for being scared to even go visit families. So you can't say you can't multitask. However, everything still goes back to knowing yourself and then knowing your environment. So for example, there are technological advances that can help us, manage multitask. If you want to just depend on yourself alone, yeah, you may be energetic, you may be young and proactive and fast, but something is going to fall through the crack. Don't forget that grass do grow through concrete. So no matter how good you are, something is going to give. So what you need to do is to support yourself with all the applications and systems that can help you. One of the things that we underuse the most, I've seen, is our Outlook calendar or any calendar whatsoever. It's also the calendar on our phones. You know, setting alerts, setting meeting timelines, reminding yourself. Sometimes you get an invite for a meeting, and then there is nothing to remind you. The person who sent you that invite did not put in there to say, oh, let the alert or reminder come 5 minutes before or 10 minutes before. You need, when you are accepting that invite, you need to go back to your Outlook and say, let me just adjust it and say, let me make it 30 minutes before the time. If it's a meeting where you need to read some slides before the meeting, maybe you then adjust it to 1 hour before the time. See, as a human being, you can only do as much. But with technology, you can do a lot. So there are a lot of things that can remind you that you can say, my phone remind me, or Google remind me if there's any topic, if there's any write-up on this topic, if there's any write-up on the future of work, if there's any write-up on COVID-19, all of those kind of things we can use to help ourselves. You can go for productivity classes. There's a lot on Microsoft Office, for example, on productivity that can help us. You can decide to work with your team members or your colleagues to say, hey, you know what, I need to work on XYZ. I would like to have a discussion with you before I start. So it was Michael Jordan that said that there is no I in team, but there's an I in win. So you are important as an individual, but again, your team, the people you surround yourself with, are also very important. So multitasking, you cannot say, oh, it's a myth. For me, it's not a myth. To justify your position, you must be able to work on different things at the same time. Absolutely. However, how you move, how you transform or translate from one project to the other, from one task to the other, is very important. And how you ensure that you finish one, you finish each of them, and none of them is hanging, is also very important. So setting those reminders, those alerts, working with people to help you becomes very important.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
I used to have a colleague in Shell those days when I used to work in Shell in Nigeria, in Norway, and in the UK and Netherlands. And this guy, every time he resumes work and he powers on his PC, something normally happens. All his alerts and reminders for the day come up on his system. The moment he powers on his PC, you would have like 7, 8, 9, sometimes 15 reminders just popping up from his Outlook calendar. And then we look at each one, adjust their timings, their timelines, and then begin to do his work one by one by one. Today, that guy is a senior guy in Shell. Even when he was a young grad, he had this behavior. He had personal, what do I call them now? He had a purpose, and he had personal tips for himself. He put it just beside his desk, like his own rules. And I remember one of them. I will return all calls that I miss before I go home. I will read all my mails before I close. I remember it. I mean, it used to be funny to some people then, but this was what distinguished that guy from the population where he was, honestly speaking. To the extent that by the time he was like 2 years or 3 years old in the system and still a young graduate, he was already doing slides for the vice president HR. He was already doing his write-offs. And there were more senior people that the VP HR would not go to. So it's one of the nuggets to becoming a 5-star employee is don't try to be normal. Try to distinguish yourself. And what distinguishes you can be performance, but in most cases is behavior. It's the behavior that leads to extra performance.
Thank you so much. You've said a lot. what I pick something here right now that normal really doesn't do it. You cannot continue to do everything normally and you expect to actually have extraordinary results. So don't try to be normal. Thanks, Larry. Distinguish yourself, and this is one thing that a lot of people don't really get. And that's when at the end of the month and the end of the year, this argument happens because you're just doing your normal. Your normal that your normal cannot make you a 5 star. And from the last example that you made, I see something in this your friend or your former colleague, and that is discipline. Discipline. He was quite disciplined at what he does. A lot of people today, you see them strolling into the office 9:30 and still feels nothing is wrong with this. Huh? You see them joining meetings 10 minutes late, and a simple apology you will not even get. These are part of the behavioral competencies or behavioral skills that we're talking about. I know someone who feels, yes, I'm very good at what I do. I am the best at what I do. And if I'm late for meetings 15 minutes, that still doesn't mean that I'm not going to complete my task. But I tell you, these are the things that your bosses are looking at. These are the things that business also is looking at. Who exactly is more disciplined to take the business to the next level? That is the kind of person companies, employees are ready to invest in and also make 5 stars. Thank you very much, Tommy. I love that. I'm going to take you a bit into another direction, and that is the direction of the role of managers in making us 5 stars. So, what would you say the roles of line managers should be? What role should the line manager play in making an employee or employees 5 star?
Good question, PT, and but also very challenging because you can slice and dice that question and come up with different answers. Now, one thing for me is when an employee joins an organization, it comes with his own nature. When that employee is then assigned to a line manager, that manager is supposed to then nurture that employee. So nature plus nurture then becomes, the potential, the performance of that employee. So for me, one of the biggest job of a line manager is nurturing, is to nurture talents that are in his or her team. And nurturing means that you have to give, provide everything that is essential for growth. Unfortunately, across all organizations, we do have managers who do not believe that nurturing is part of their job. It is not in their JD, it's not in their job description. And I've heard line managers who say, look, nobody nurtured me, nobody trained me. So why should I be training people? They went to school, they got a degree. Let them come and prove it here.
That's true.
Now, those will be your normal technical experts, but not leaders. Because leaders grow other leaders. So part of the job of a line manager is to nurture talent, is to grow leaders. Because when you grow your people, as they grow, you will also grow. Now, I've heard many managers make the excuse to say, I don't have the time. We have to deliver on this. We have to deliver on that. Where's the time to start? Now, if you believe that it's part of your job, then you will create the time. It's just like nurturing your own children at home. So it's about creating time. If it's 30 minutes in a week or in a month, it's 1 hour. Just having a sit down and a discussion, about the individual who is your employee. The individual who is your employee, what they've done in the last 1 week or last 1 month, what they found interesting, what they found challenging, what they are doing in the next 1 month, providing them feedback on how they do what they've done in the past, providing them also feed forward in terms of what you're expecting them to do in the next 1 month. Asking them if they need any help so that you can, provide that for them. Asking if there's any challenge that you can help with. Understand, even going to the level of, their personal life, their family life. Of course, if they don't want to disclose, they don't disclose. But if there are areas of their life that they would like to, disclose, which may be affecting work or impacting their performance, then they're free to discuss that. I mean, that's where you get all these things about, look, my housemate just left. I'm struggling with how to manage my 8 months old baby or my 2 years old baby. And that could lead to, you know what? Oh, you can resume at 9 instead of 8. Or you can close at 4 instead of 5. It's those disclosures that help managers to also come with, okay, let's agree on some ways of working that would help. But the only thing is that you need to join the meeting online, you need to respond to your mails and all of those things. And that it makes employees really want to spend the rest of their life in an organization just because of one line manager. It may not necessarily because of the organization. It could be because of the line manager. So line managers are supposed to nurture, their team members. Of course, sometimes you do all your best and the guy is not pulling his weight or the lady is not pulling her weight. And in that case, you have to have those tough discussions also. The only thing is that we always need to ensure that those kind of discussions don't become personal. We don't personalize them. You need to focus on the issue, the non-performance, the behavior, the impact of that non-performance or behavior on the team and on the outcome or the result that we're supposed to achieve, and the possible consequences that can happen if things don't change. And then you also need to cover the help you are ready to provide in ensuring that that person turns turns around, the performance picks up. And once you are able to do this, clearly from your mind, believing that it's part of your job to help your team members grow, then of course you can then kind of say, you know what, my conscience is clear, I tried my best. But I think it's easier for managers to just say, you know what, sack this guy, or please move into another department, as they used to do in the old days. They just go to HR and say, hey, I don't need this guy again, can you transfer him? And then organizations begin to transfer incompetence and underperformance across the organization. But instead, have a performance improvement discussion. Agree the key KPIs, key performance indicators and objectives to achieve. Agree timelines, help the person, agree what help the person needs and provide the help. And if they turn around, and I've seen many people turn around, in this process, then you are happy. You are able to also cross your mind and say, you know what, I was instrumental to ensuring that this underperformer becomes a performer and is now one of the strong pillars in our organization. And if it didn't work out also, you have a good discussion about exit or about how you want to depart, how you want to exit. And then of course, it may also mean, like they used to do in some consulting firms like McKinsey, like Accenture, they'll tell you, you need to exit not because you are not good, but because this environment is not a place where you're going to shine. So for example, in consulting, you might be spending 50% of your time in the air, in an airplane, flying from one zone to another, working on several consulting assignments. Now, it may well be that that person is not suited for that. That disrupts, that person's, cycle, the way they think, the way they work. It may well be that when the person goes to an industry, they become high flyer. So it's not a death sentence. All they'll say is that, look, we will help you land another job where the environment will not be as fierce and as fast, as possible, where you can settle down and focus and yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so thanks. Then I want to take you a bit into another discussion. Now we've said a lot about line managers, about the role line managers can play and how we as employees can react. Now there is a question, how can I be a 5-star rated under a 2-star rated manager? The manager is not the manager is not happy. The manager is not being seen as a performer. All right. How can he make me a 5-star? Because even himself is a 2-star or a 3-star. I need clarity here on this, Tommy. It's a question from someone in our network, and I think it's a very good one.
Okay, so maybe we'll rephrase that question, because your manager cannot make you a 5-star employee. No, the manager can contribute to you becoming a 5-star employee, but becoming beyond your manager. It's yourself, manager, it's your environment, you work, it's your family, it's your social circle. What you like to do. So for example, even if your manager is 2-star rated, but you are also a social junkie, and you even go to clubs on Sunday nights and you close and you leave the club at 3 a.m. Sorry, there is no way you're going to be in the meeting on a Monday morning and your eyes will not be closing. Now, if you are that kind of a guy who, you are so social to the extent that every night you must be in a joint, you must drink, and there's nothing wrong with that. But your strength cannot carry it to the extent that even in a meeting that you yourself call, you are the chair of the meeting, your eyes are closing. There's no way you're going to become a 5-star employee. The best you can become is a 3-star employee. You would have the potential, but you will not live up to the potential. So it is not your manager that makes you a 5-star employee. It's a combination of factors. Now let's go back to the question. Let's just say your manager is not so great, and it does happen. Okay, but the people who made him your manager, who made that your manager, must have taken that decision based on certain principles or certain merits. You need to then ensure that the non-performance or the non-exposure of your manager does not affect your own. So you must continue to develop yourself. That's number one. Number two, even if your manager is 1-star, your manager still wants to shine. Your manager still wants to perform, still wants to achieve results. And so if you are that kind of person who gives that your manager the kind of result of performance that he or she is looking for, then you are doing your part. And there's no way he can put you down. Of course, I'm aware that there are managers who, when you finish a job for them, they remove your name and put their name and send to the MD or whatever. There will always be people like that. However, what you know is what you know. Yeah, they can't take it away from you. So you must work as if you are working for yourself. In fact, I've met people in the past and even currently, the way you introduce yourself and you say, I work for myself through, and then you mention the name of your organization. What does that mean? It means that everything you do, you are doing as if you are working for yourself.
Wow.
So it's like having an owner's mindset, ensuring and knowing fully well that everything you learn, every knowledge you acquire, nobody can take it away from your brain. So even when your manager is using that to grow, your opportunity will come. The only thing you want to ensure is that, when you find the word at your feet, that you don't find your shoelace not laced. Or that when you jump to a conclusion, that you land on proper footing. What does this mean? You must always prepare as if the opportunity will come tomorrow. It's like the elevator pitch I will always say. You find yourself in the elevator on the staircase with your MD. And he asks you, what do you do? Oh, I'm the financial analyst. Wrong answer to a good question.
Wow.
You should be able to introduce yourself without mentioning your job title, whatever, but focusing on the impact and value that you add. If you are the financial analyst, what does that mean? That's what you should talk about. It's like people who write up their CVs and they keep writing their job responsibilities. You're just underselling yourself. But if you really understand the meaning of a CV or a resume, it is that document that speaks for you in your absence. And then add to that the guy who is trying to shortlist is looking at 1,000 CVs, because we're in a country where everybody applies by faith. So even when they say we need 5 years experience in mathematics, in industrial mathematics or an applied mathematics, the guy who studied chemistry will still apply, because when he went to mosque yesterday Friday, or when he went to church tomorrow Sunday, they already said that, oh, you need to have faith. So the guy who is shortlisting 1,000 CVs does not have the time to be going through job responsibility. He wants to see the value you're going to add, and that must be on your resume. So the same thing, we always need to be ready. And there's one more thing to mention about becoming a 5-star employee, and it's about your true enemy. You need to know your true enemy, and that is doubt. A man's true enemy is doubt. I think Susan Kazim said that. It's a quote. The moment you start doubting yourself, and the more you doubt yourself, the more you will not be able to deliver to your own expectations. So never doubt. Always believe that you can do it. Now, I'm not now talking about motivation. Sorry. I don't demotivate people, but I'm also not that motivation speaker that says if you want it, you can have it. No. I'm saying believe that you can do anything and then go to work and do it. But the moment you start doubting yourself, you can't become a five-star employee, full stop. The moment you believe that the highest your career, senior manager, you already limited yourself. The best leaders I've worked with in the last 10 years, for example, are people who know much more beyond the limit of their disciplines. Like myriads of examples, the fact that I work in HR helps me to see a lot of people. I've seen that the best finance directors are the ones who understand the business much more than they understand finance. So they become business people in finance rather than finance people in business.
That's true.
The best HR people are the ones who understand the business. They'll become business people in HR and not HR people in business.
Specialists.
And you get to a point where you need to transit from being your own your discipline specialist to becoming a business person. I worked with two finance directors, for example, in one organization in 5 years, where one finance director was so good, but the challenge was always about when commercial team come and say, we need 1 billion to make 11 billion. We need 1 more billion to make 11 billion. The target maybe was, we need 1 million to make 1 billion more. The target was 10 billion, but they want to make 11 billion. But they need 1 million more to make that 11 billion.
That extra.
Now, that specialist finance director would always say, I don't have the money. That's not in your budget. The other finance director would go to the commercial team before they come to say, look, the target revenue is 10 billion. How much more do you need to make 11 billion? You see the difference in approach, the difference in understanding. And they say, and the commercial team can say, oh, but that is not in our, yes, we need 2 million more, or 10 million more, but that's not in our budget. Nobody's going to approve it. So don't worry, leave that to me. I'm going to talk to my boss because I want 1 billion more than the target. The difference is the understanding of the business and how you work with your colleagues.
To be a five-star, you actually need to understand the business over and above your specialty, over and above your department. And I think this is really iconic because a lot of people are working in silos today. A supply chain manager only knows supply chain and he wants to defend everything about his KPIs. The sales guy also wants to defend his KPIs, and something is not just connecting. And there's always this contrast or conflict in expectation and in our objectives. I think your message is so clear to me that to really be that five-star employee, it goes beyond what even the business see about you. It's what you see, who you see yourself to be. And I think this is one thing I've said to someone also. I say, don't look up to your boss to determine your career. Don't look up to your boss to determine where you will be. You determine it yourself, then you can share it with your boss. I think that's the real message here. Tommy, thanks a lot.
Titi, there's a quote. There's a quote to buttress.
Yes, go on.
Sorry, Titi. I was saying that there's a quote to buttress, understanding the business beyond your own silo. So they say that a single arrow, I don't know whether you know that quote, a single arrow is easily broken. A single arrow, no matter how potent, no matter when you shoot a single arrow, it can cause, injury. But that single arrow is easily broken, but not 10 in a bundle. If you put 10 arrows together and then you try to break them, it's not easy. What does that mean? Your knowledge, your specialization in your own, silo can easily be rubbished. When you put your own silo knowledge with the knowledge of other people across different silos, that is understanding the business. It's not easily broken because what you might have missed just looking from the window of supply chain or finance or sales will take you through a bigger door where you are now looking through the door of sales, marketing, supply chain, finance, HR together. That is an unbeatable way to grow your business and become a five-star employee.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tommy. And let me just say this as well. We have people watching us also on YouTube. I can see that we have quite a number of viewers on YouTube. Guys, if you have any questions as well, put it there. Someone will get the questions and will bring it into the Zoom class. Fantastic. I don't know if we still have more questions. I have a few more, but if you have questions to ask to me before we go tonight, please bring it on. Let me say, no, Atoyebi says, don't be a discipline specialist, be business savvy. Know much more than the limits of your career. Thank you very much. Um, I'm gonna bring you up to something, Tommy. I'll share my screen. If anyone of you can still see. And Tommy, I apologize because I'm going into HR topics. I don't know if everyone can see my screen now. All right, so this is the HR bell curve, all right, that I know. It's on Google, and any one of you can actually Google it. And I've also most times see this presented by HR to say in an organization, you definitely should not have, should in quotes, and I need you to correct that if it's not true. You should actually not have more than 20% top performers. When you have 10 non-performance, we expect you to have in your team at about 70% of average performance. So what does this mean? Maybe I need to understand it, and a lot of people in the room today need to understand it. Does that mean that if we actually have more top performers in that organization, there's still a system that brings them down or limits the numbers that we should have in an organization?
Well, Titi, I missed most of your question because my network was fluctuating. However, I can see that you put up the bell curve here, and
yeah, maybe I should take it
now,
again. Do you want me to take it again, Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is this.
Please.
This bell curve, how relevant is it to what we're talking about today? This is a bell curve that most HR professionals, most business HR partners are aware of, and they use it quite a lot. And I always hear or see that, yes, business expects that 70% of those in my team should be in this curve of average performance. And we expect to only have about 20% at the top league. So my question is, if I have more than 20%, 2 out of 10 people really performing so well, must I, as a manager, still find a way to fit in into 20%, or I can really bring up this score to about 40? Is it allowed in organization, especially the multinationals and the well-established organization that use this bell curve?
Well,
I'm sorry I brought this up, Toby. It's something that
no, it's
asked,
good.
and we really need to
good.
dig deep into it a bit.
No, it's good. It's a good question. The bell curve, I mean, came into being because managers were also becoming like, very soft. And that is because human beings are ruled by emotion, by feelings, by passion. And nobody, no line manager, no people manager wants to be seen as a bad manager. And that was also because performance rating were also linked to payment of bonus, how much bonus you get, how much merit increase you get. So because of that, people were not able to delink, the way you are rated, from how much you get, how much bonus you're paid. So I think that was the beginning of the misunderstanding and quarrel and challenge with the bell curve. And that's why today many organizations are doing away with the bell curve. But let's face the fact, even where there's no bell curve, in our heads, even people who are employees, they know those who are performing and those who are not. They also are able to distinguish between performers and say, even when people are performing, this guy is still the best performer. So let me ask one question. I know that people cannot answer me, but if you're a football lover and you are a fan of Barcelona or Liverpool, I'm talking about teams. Maybe Barcelona is no longer there now, at least for now. They have their own challenges. But let's just say, that you are a follower of Barcelona when they were really at the top of their game. That team was a good team. Would you still not be able to rate the players to say, okay, number 1 to number 11, who will I put as number 1? My sense is that many people, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, who put Messi as number 1, who probably put the Xavi, who probably put all those guys as number 2, number 3. Does that mean that the guy who comes as number 11 is not a performer? No. But probably the guy who is number 1, number 2, they are the game changers. They are the ones when, they say that rough waters are the truest test of leadership. That in calm waters, every ship has a good captain. But when you have rough waters, that's why you can determine who is actually a good leader or not. So who is the game changer? For example, in the Liverpool team of today, for football lovers, who are the guys who that if they don't play in that team, there's going to be a problem? That's the way human beings are. So when you create a team, it could be a team of high performance. They were recruited the same way. They had to go through the same interviews, the same case studies, the same presentation, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, you chose them because, they were really good. But when push comes to shove and the rubber meets the road, who are the guys who are the game changers? Who are the guys who still have huge potential? That's what this is all about. So without talking about the bell curve, people know within a team that these guys are high performers. But if we have to spread them out and rate them from 1 to 10, from 1 to 5, from 1 to 7, somebody will still rate first. Now, sometimes some managers, I think what we should be focused on is, are we rating people on the right criteria? So because some managers can be rating people based on how close they are to him or her, if they greet him in the morning, if they prostrate to greet him, if they come behind to tell him what other people are saying about them or about them, or if they are well connected. Now, if we have the right criteria, there will always be a difference. Now, it may well be that people don't fall into 10, 70, 20 percentages. It may well be that maybe 5 out of 10 are even, high performers. That could well be. But it also may well be that some guys are laggards. But the thing is that the laggard in this team can be a high performer in that team. The high performer in this team can be a middle performer in the other team. So we need to focus on I would like us to focus on the right question, which is about.
Let's make it practical. Now let's make it practical, and let's use
exactly
Oyere's question now to really do justice to this. So in your own experience, all right, you've been HR directors for several multinationals. So what is that deciding factor for you? How do you know a game changer? If you have to make a choice, okay, of executives or leaders who to promote or who to move into the next level, what exactly will you be looking for? What is that thing that separates contenders based on technical competencies? That is a question from Oyelere.
Okay, so my sense is that if you are looking to choose or select leaders for your business, it's going to go way beyond technical competence. That is the truth. As leaders, your technical competence is a given. It's taken for granted. That's what got you to the level where you got to. So I cannot be looking for example, a marketing director, and I'm judging him only in the bucket of marketing, in the bucket of mental availability, in the bucket of branding and communication. It has to be how he grows people. It has to be what that translates to in the business. It has to be in his understanding of the P&L. It has to be in managing, the budget, of the department. It has to be in his understanding of production. quality, sales, how he's going to interface with all of those guys. It has to be with his understanding of how he's going to manage whatever finance that is put in his care. It will have to do with his measurements and outcomes of all the branding activities that he does and how he chooses or selects what channels to use at what time and what impact that makes. So it wouldn't be based on his marketing acumen alone, you know? So I will not be looking for if I'm looking for a marketing director, I will not be looking for marketing specialist only. I'll be looking for a business leader. Because again, what next after marketing director is to become a CEO or an MD or whatever. Yeah. So my sense is, look, it's not just about your competence in your area of your discipline. It's about the business, generally speaking.
Wow, awesome. Tommy, thank you very much. We've done 1 hour, 30 minutes of real heart-to-heart deliberation and discussion. And I love the way you've been able to put reality into these discussions. A lot of time we don't get to hear this HR heart-to-heart discussions like this. And I want to say a very big thank you to you. And I want to say thank you to all the friends that also joined on Facebook. We will definitely make this video available. It's going to be on Facebook, and also it will be on YouTube. So Eman, if you can put up the YouTube again, please put it up. And I don't know if Tommy still have if you have some other points that you would still like.
Yeah, Titi, maybe my passing shot. It's about, look, in your career, shit will happen. No matter how good you are, it's either they pass you by with one promotion, one line manager comes who doesn't really like your face, and you are almost like out of the door, or you were asked to go, you are part of a severance package, exit program. Shit will happen. Now, if you live long enough to have a 30 years career, 35 years career, probably shit will happen to you twice. Your prayer should be that the shit will happen early in your career when you are strong enough to face it. Now, please remember this. It is not drowning. You know, you drown by falling into a river. However, you have to stay there in that river to really die. I don't know whether you're getting my point. So you drown not by falling into a river, but by staying submerged in that river. Shit will happen. There's one characteristic that a 5-star employee must always have, and it is called edge, EDGE. It is the ability of a professional to bounce back from disappointment. You must always have that, because in this world, there's no perfection. No matter how good you are, shit is going to happen. When it does, it's about how do you bounce back. Like I said, you don't drown because you fall into a river. You drown because you stay submerged in it. Now you need to prepare for that time. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know whether it will come now or later. How do you prepare for this? By continuously developing yourself. By continuously exposing yourself, getting exposure. Because there's a saying that a frog trapped in a well does not understand the sea. If you're in one small enclosure and you're a senior manager and you're feeling good, you know, but the revenue of the business is 1 billion. You need to be thinking that if you move into a business that the revenue is 11 billion, how different is it going to be? You are in one company and you're a director. How is that going to be when you move to a group of companies that has 13 subsidiaries, 15 subsidiaries, and then you are now the group director? How are you going to manage 15 businesses that have, each of them have their own MDs and their own management teams? It's going to be a different ball game. So developing yourself continuously, you know, getting exposure, even when the business does not provide that opportunity, you need to get exposure somewhere in socially, online, you know. It will help you become a 5-star employee. What I remember is that for those employees where I've worked, where people say, oh, these are our stars, what we realize is that after work, either in the office or when they get home or whatever, they create that time. They continuously learn, even when that learning may not be relevant immediately. So when they come to meetings, their contributions are always beyond their level. The questions they ask are always beyond their level. The way they listen and they pick out what is being said and what is not being said is always beyond their level. So having that, listening skills, good questioning skills, developing yourself continuously, reading voraciously beyond your silo, all contribute to making you a five-star employee. Asking questions, getting feedback from people. You work on a project, you finish the project, you're asking for feedback. You work on an assignment, you're asking for feedback. You are given a project to do and you're asking for feed forward, which is you're asking your line manager, what will be the call of success? What will make me get exceptional mark, exceptional grade, exceptional rate when we finish this project? There are always people who ask these questions and work by them. There are also people who really like to work in a team. They don't work in silos. They don't like to take personal glory, even though the personal glory will come. But they are working to get the glory for the team. So they are not seen as selfish, and people want to work with them. And then there are people who don't take things personal. I've seen people who they will tell you, I can't work with that guy. I can never work with this woman. I can't work with that man. There must if you want to become a five-star employee, there must never be anybody that you cannot work with. Of course, let's take the issue of corruption away, or fraudulent people. You can't work with those. But in terms of, oh, this guy annoys me. Oh, this guy doesn't. No. You must always find a way to work with people. What if your next role, that person is the person you must work with to get your result? You will then have to eat your words. So it must always be, don't personalize issues. Look at issues as issues in the business and how do you resolve it. Then make sure that your ego is not bigger than you, so that you don't allow your ego to write a check that your body cannot cash. So you don't become too big that you can't take feedback. You don't become too big that people cannot criticize you. You don't become too big to learn from people who are junior to you. And like today, in reverse mentoring, a lot of people like us have to learn from younger people, learn from your sons, learn from your younger ones, even how to play PSP, even how to, how to use modern applications to do analytics. Sometimes you need to learn from people who are junior to you. But that's how you stay ahead of the curve. Not where you keep pretending like leaders of old. You say, I'm the leader here. I don't need to learn anything new. If you do that, you become a dinosaur. And we all know what happened to the dinosaur. They become extinct. It is the survival of the adaptable, survival of people who continuously learn. And that's why some people today, at the age of 70, people still go to them for advice. They still call them to come and talk to teams. And there are people who are 40 and nobody is asking them to speak. Thank you, Titi.
I really feel we shouldn't stop. Toby, this is really expository. I have a full note already, and I also believe that those in the class today also have a full note. You have to go back to this note, guys. Trust me. You have to go back to this note. You have to go back to this video. You have to listen to it again, over and over again. You have to share this with your team. If you're very confident and very close with your line manager, share this with your line manager as well, and then just watch out for how things turn around in your career. So thanks so much. I'm going to call someone else to say a very big thank you to you. But before we do that, guys, I want to appreciate you for joining this class today. I believe you've been you've really learned. I didn't just host the show today. I'm here as a student, and I've also learned a lot. Thank you so much. So we've posted the link to the YouTube channel. You can always go there and listen to the recordings of this video. And also, December 1st, we're going to launch the MCTB network, Masterclass Branding Network. And what does that mean? We actually want to call on content creators. We want to call on people who are willing to really work with us, and let's see how we can still add value to people. I tell you guys, next year, 2021, is going to be a year of value added. We're going to add value to people. We're going to lift to people in terms of their career, in terms of their purpose in life. And I'm calling on people to really join. So if you're interested in this, please just send a mail. For those of you that are not probably not in my contact, just send a mail to masterclass.tokebandele@gmail.com. Emma will put that up very shortly. Masterclass.tokebandele@gmail.com. Let's do this together, guys. The Sunday show, the bi-weekly shows. Let's just do it together. And the more you add value to people, the more value you add to yourself as well. That is what I believe. So, Tommy, I'm going to call on Yelleri Atoyebi now to say big thank you to Tommy. Over to you, Lyric. We can't hear you. I think you need to unmute yourself now. Yes, I've asked you to unmute.
Sorry, Titi.
Yeah.
The network was fluctuating. Did you ask a question?
No. I was just calling on Larry to say a big thank you to you.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's there. Larry, are you there? Okay, so we couldn't get Larry back. Tommy, thank you very much. We can't pay you for this. I'm very sure that everyone in class today had really gained something, one thing or the other, and we're gonna take this with us for a very long time. And I want to say a very big thank you to you. And I love the fact that you are approachable, you're reachable, you have a very busy schedule. You're the group HR director of a conglomerate. We understand how this time means to you. So thank you so much on behalf of every one of us. We were over 30 at some time in the class, and we have a lot of people also viewing on Facebook. On behalf of those wonderful souls and talent, I want to say a very big thank you to Tony. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for the class tonight. The next class will be in another 2 weeks, and we will be discussing. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag now. So if you want to know what we're going to discuss, just follow us. Follow us on our social media. Follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is simple, at Tope Bandele. At Tope Bandele, there you can see a lot of things that we've done in the past, and also what we're gonna do. Guys, very shortly, we're gonna have Vlad Rotoy also on the show. Jimmy Tewe has signed in for January 30. I'm looking forward to that particular day to have Jimmy Tewe also on the show here today. Ubon King is coming. Last week we had sorry, I forgot the name again. Apologies for that. So we're gonna keep bringing notable people. We're gonna keep bringing people of high class that you can learn from. People that are actually a bit ahead of us, and some that are actually far ahead of us. That we can actually learn from them. Steve Harris said last in Model 7 edition, he says you have to invest in your future. You have to invest. It could be financial investment. It could be time investment. This one is time investment that we are asking you to do. So please don't take this for granted. Make sure that you're part of MCTB, and please give us feedback. So we talked about feedback now. Give us feedback. Let's know how we can make this show more productive for you. If you have topics you want us to treat, sometimes someone sent to us that we need to treat topics about in-laws in marriage. Well, I'm still looking for a guest to bring in on this topic. We've treated finance and marriage. We've talked about health. So if you have any other topic that is very close to you and dear to you and you want us to talk about it, please drop us a message on masterclass.tokebandele@gmail.com, or you also send me a DM on @tokebandele on IG. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for being part of the show today. I so much appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to having a lot of you joining the MCTB network. Let's do this together. Let's see how we can transform lives, and actually where we can bring purpose to people's existence. That is what we do in MCTB. I want to say a very big thank you for on behalf of everybody in the network, Eman, Nubi, Abayomi, and also Ife, and also my darling wife, Fumbi, who also helps with the publicity and the likes. I want to say a very big thank you to you guys. Let's do this again in another 2 weeks. And for those of you that will be joining us tomorrow for the MCTB Learning Hub, please go to the link, add yourself to the WhatsApp link, and let's do this together. Till I come your way again in another 2 weeks. It is Tope Bandele, and this is Masterclass with Tope Bandele. Thank you very much, and have a lovely weekend. Bye. Slam dunk, are you ready?